The Illinois Freedom Caucus filing articles of impeachment against Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker as the governor says he's never incited violence. Good morning. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. You can get the newsletter in your inbox. Go to thecentersquare.com and sign up today. We're a free newswire service, and you can donate as well. So get details again at thecentersquare.com. Let's get right into it because there's tons of stuff to tackle this morning on the conversation of political rhetoric and where we're at in society after the assassination of Charlie Kirk Wednesday. Charlie Kirk, an Illinois native, born in Arlington Heights, 31 years old, wife, 2 kids. He was a conservative activist creating Turning Points USA with college campus chapters and high school chapters, and he did debates on college campuses and was pretty prominent with that. An event at college in Utah on Wednesday, September 10th, he was in the middle of answering a question in a debate in front of 3,300 people and was shot in the neck and died later that day. So it's got a lot of people on edge. And all of this, as also in Chicago, you've got Governor J.B. Pritzker, who held a news availability yesterday and said that that's on top of people scared of immigration customs enforcement enforcing federal immigration law. Here is Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday at that news event talking about the fear people have that he's hearing about.
People are frightened about the potential of military troops coming to our neighborhoods. People are fearful of masked men in unmarked vans who could grab them on a street corner because of how they look or how they sound. People are scared to go to work. They're scared to take their kids to school. They're scared to go to school themselves or to go shopping. Last week, as you all know, the assassination of Charlie Kirk added to that fear, both about gun violence and about being killed for speaking your mind. This is a moment when Americans must come together and say clearly that threats and political violence are not the answer.
And the governor went on to talk about how it's incumbent upon political leaders to bring the temperature down.
Most especially, this should come from the top. Yet with each new crisis in recent years, we are reminded that we cannot rely on President Trump to tamp down the anger and the passion in the aftermath of political violence. Instead, he actively fans the flames of division, as he did on Friday, regularly advocates violence for political retribution, and in more than one case declares we are at war, not with a foreign adversary, but with each other. I don't believe any of that. Our people are not at war with one another. In these moments, real leaders offer words of solace and calm. Except for one, every president in my lifetime has done this in the wake of political violence. They take action for positive change. They bring people together. They make Americans feel safe. They let them know violence is never the answer. This is a watershed moment in our country. We can choose to stay silent and live in fear of more political violence, or we can choose to be loud for peace, for compassion, and for an America where people settle their political differences through free speech and at the ballot box. Let's be those people. That's the path Illinois chooses, and I implore the president to do the same.
And the president obviously made a speech after Kirk's assassination saying that political violence has no place in America and vowed to hold those responsible accountable. And you've got the White House now taking their aim on what they called terrorist networks of people who are radicalized to commit violence. And what that's going to look like is interesting. The president yesterday was asked about Antifa and should Antifa be declared a terrorist organization. And he believed, that's the case, as they throw bricks at vans of ICE agents and burn vehicles in the middle of streets and so on. But Pritzker said that the threats are increasing in Illinois.
The number of threats that have come in over the last few days has been an enormous multiple of those that were coming in the days before. And we've seen an increase in threats in the state of Illinois over the last 7 years at least, since I've been governor, 6.5, 7 years. And not just about me. I'm just saying I think this is happening across the country, and it's happening in the state of Illinois. So, but I want to be clear. I feel safe because I'm protected. My family feels safe because we're protected. But the truth is that the number of threats and the number of people who seem to want to engage in political violence has increased substantially.
So Pritzker ultimately saying that everybody needs to bring the temperature down, but obviously that's going to be something you hear from political leaders. There's still something about the finger pointing that's going on, though. I talked with Illinois House Minority Leader Toni McCombie yesterday, and she gave her general thoughts about where we're at in the scope of political civility versus political violence.
The number of
And here is Leader McCombie from yesterday.
Well, it's everything that has been going on, progressively getting worse. I came in 2017, and our environment since then has even gotten so much harder to be in. Certainly, several members of our own Illinois House and Senate have received certainly threatening messages, and it just has to stop. And the place it starts is with leadership. And I've been quick to call for the end of political violence, regardless of who it was, who was doing it, who was getting it. It doesn't matter your politics. It doesn't matter anything about you. But this political violence has gotten so accelerated that people are even wanting to retire, not wanting to run for office, not put themselves into the limelight. And that's really unfortunate.
McCombie also sounded off on Governor Pritzker, seeming to want political civility, but continuing to characterize a certain political persuasion in ways that are not very savory, some would say.
Well, I think in the case of our governor, he's running for a higher office than the governor. Although he stated, that is exactly what he's doing. It's not. It's obvious that he's trying to get on a national platform, and unfortunately, he has on several different occasions. Certainly, I would say, have people excited about. I don't want to say necessarily. Well, I will. He's incited violence. You sit here and you call my caucus and Republicans around the nation Nazis, and you use that kind of language. Words matter, and it has to start with us leaders. And he calls for us to state that we don't want political violence, and I've been very consistent on that, Greg. But I'm also not calling my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, or anybody for that matter, names, associating them with evil. And unfortunately, the governor is. I think today, him saying that he's never associated us with Nazis. We have the receipts, obviously. He said it in the public forum. He said it on our own House floor during his budget address. And it's got to start with us leaders. Only he can tone this down. And I wish he would. And I wish the priority was the state of Illinois and not the national spotlight. That's what taxpayers deserve, and that's what he's promised. And we have to stop this.
So McCombie saying that the governor incited violence. And we talked about this back in February whenever the governor gave his budget speech and State of the State speech. He spent a good 4 to 5, maybe 6 minutes or so talking about Nazi Germany, the lead up to Nazi Germany, and saying that Donald Trump had an authoritarian playbook. We'll actually hear some of that. But the Illinois Freedom Caucus yesterday filing articles of impeachment in House Resolution 466. And it says, whereas the governor of Illinois is engaged in conduct that is in totality of the circumstances constitutes inciting violence that is incompatible with the duties of his office, the House of Representatives is empowered through the Illinois Constitution to impeach J.B. Pritzker, governor of the state of Illinois. And it goes through some of the instances they say that is an incitement of violence. And one of those is from the budget speech he gave back in February. Here is the governor in a couple of clips from his budget speech.
Anyone who's doing.
And let's pull that up here.
The authoritarian playbook is laid bare here. They point to a group of people who don't look like you and tell you to blame them for your problems. I just have one question. What comes next? I'm not speaking up in service to my ambitions, but in deference to my obligations. If you think I'm overreacting and sounding the alarm too soon, consider this. It took the Nazis 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours, and 40 minutes to dismantle a constitutional republic.
And that's just a couple of the clips. The Freedom Caucus resolution also goes into other public speeches he's made about what do you do with bullies? You punch them in the face. Also that these Republicans should know not a moment of peace. And that's also in the resolution that the Illinois Freedom Caucus filed. But Pritzker yesterday denies that he called Republicans Nazis.
Anyone who's doing that deserves criticism. And I think it's incumbent upon me as the leader of this state to tell people that we need to act with calm in this moment, that people need to act peacefully in this moment.
You have called Republicans Nazis.
No, I have not. That is completely false. I have never called Republicans Nazis.
I'm glad you cleared that up because there are some.
Well, that's what they'd like to say. They're lying. They're lying.
I'm going to ask you to ask you that.
Well, that's not what I called them.
So Pritzker again saying that he didn't call Republicans Nazis, and I got a similar response from the governor when I asked him the day of his budget speech, why characterize half the country that voted for Trump as supporting a Nazi, and he gave me a very similar answer back then. But House Minority Leader Tony McCombie, leader of the Republicans in the Illinois House, seems to say, yeah, this impeachment article makes sense from the Illinois Freedom Caucus, a subset of the Republican Party. But McCombie acknowledges, as Republicans are in the super minority, this resolution may not go anywhere.
Well, this is a long time coming. I believe I've been on the road all day today, but I believe it's on the grounds of incitement of violence. And that certainly is apparent. Now, whether or not it will be called will be another question, as you know, we are in the super minority. But this is the overall frustrations of not only the members that filed the paperwork, but the House Republican Caucus, taxpayers, and notice that I say taxpayers, not Republicans or Democrats. Everybody is very frustrated and very concerned on where we're going to be going forward. So this is a result of what's been happening and accelerating over the years, like I said, even since I've been here in 2017.
So Tony McCombie saying that things have escalated and Governor J.B. Pritzker needs to be the leader in toning down rhetoric. You've got Republicans essentially saying that it's the rhetoric against Trump that is causing it to, in a way, reverberate more, right? I mean, how many times has Pritzker called Trump an authoritarian? How many times has the word tyrant been used? How many times has fascism been used by political leaders, not just Pritzker, but others? So Pritzker, yesterday, he said, he reiterated he's never called for political violence.
I have always advocated that if one is to protest, they should protest peacefully. I've always advocated that you should speak out, use your megaphones, your microphones, stand on a soapbox to do so, go to the ballot box. Those are all the ways that in politics we act. That's the way I've always known that we act in political life in the United States. And yet now we see, that there are people who not only act violently, but those who encourage that kind of violence. And especially in this moment, we should be asking people to instead call for calm. And that's what I'm doing.
We'll see how this plays out. Of course, the impeachment resolution, House Resolution 466, you can go look that up and read it for yourself, filed by members of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, and how the rhetoric will change moving forward. We'll keep that out in front and center. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning here and get the newsletter at thecentersquare.com.